Just like the street lights lit this town, like a fire in a blaze, gotta burn it down. Can't be afraid to leave this out. We got this far, don't know how. I see danger in your eyes. They know we'll burn down the night. Coming just like the sunrise. You know that we gonna let it away. Tonight, we gonna let it away. Tonight, we gonna let it away. Just like the sunrise, we gonna let it away. Just like a spark that's breaking out. Can't make a stop, can't turn back now. We know that there's no room for doubt. No, we can't turn back now. I see danger in your eyes. They know we'll burn down the night. Coming just like the sunrise. You know that we gonna let it away. Tonight, we gonna let it away. Tonight, we gonna let it away. Just like the sunrise, we gonna let it away.
Hello, welcome in, everybody. Welcome on in. It's a morning live. Well, it's actually afternoon, technically. I guess it's 12:20, but morning enough for me. Morning enough for me. Hopefully, there's some people in that don't usually get to make it into our evening lives because normally, we're here at 9:15, 9:35 p.m. So hopefully, some of our people across the pond, maybe they'll wander in today. But it is beautiful here, so I don't know if it's beautiful where you are. You guys might be out doing something. But if you're watching on a replay, thank you guys for watching. Thank you for joining me for the live. I appreciate it. I see that we have a few people in chat and we have a few people watching just kind of in the bushes. But if you're new to the channel and you do like the content, I hope you appreciate the content. I hope that you'll consider subscribing to the channel and just hitting the like button. That's all I ask. So, hey, baby girl. Hey, Crystal. Hey, Miss Southpaw. Hey, Lynette. How are you? Made it live finally. It's good to see ya. Hey, Crystal again. I'm like Crystal again. Hey, Shelly. Hey, Canvas. Hey, Naomi. And the reason why I'm not on camera, because I usually always am, is just so that my eye doesn't have to go back and forth to the camera, to the book, to the camera, to the book. So I'm just giving my eye a rest for just this live. Hey, Austin. Hey, Jeffrey. Hey, Perry. It's been a while since I haven't been on camera. I feel like weird. Hey, Ember. Welcome in. Hey, Patricia. It's good to see everybody. I know I kind of did this impromptu live, but I was like, man, we need to get through some of this book. And I was like, well, I'm going to go to the pool today. And why not read a little bit of the book first, right? Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I redid the intro a little while ago. I have a second channel. I just redid the intro on that. And I'm loving the new song on that channel. I'm digging it. I'm loving it. I hope you guys are loving it because I'm loving it. And I am going to read you the video over there, though. So, and if you guys have any questions about anything that we talk about today, if you want to just tag me, and that way I can see the message, and if I can't get to the question right away, I'll star it and I'll come back at the end, and then we'll spend like the last 10 minutes of the live kind of doing like a Q&A. So I'm going to go ahead and get the book up here for us. And I got my glasses there. So let me see let's see how dirty they are, even though they literally don't leave the desk. Uh-oh. I was like, where are they? They're on the desk. I should be wearing these all the time, but I tell you that all the time. But it's just hard when you're not used to having something on your face, I guess. I'll learn my lesson when I lose my other eye. That would be a shame. Oh, and you know what? Today is my cat Rocky's birthday. I believe that he is 18 this year. He is old, but he is very like athletic still as a cat. Like he still jumps and everything and wants to get into everything and bother us about everything. So I can't believe how old my little boy is. And my mom would have been 72 today. Hey, Michael. I know. Me too, baby girl. Hey, DM, there's one. They'll be rolling in. Hey, Jude. So we'll go ahead and we'll get started. The last night we were going to do, I need to change the thumbnail because we actually got through 77 chapters. We usually do 10 chapters a night, but for some reason, this part of the book, the chapters were a lot longer, but these ones are now, shorter. So, but it says chapter 77, Moscow, Idaho, November 30th, 2022. Dean Eccles chose the state deliberately. The first Wednesday after Thanksgiving is chapter day when Greek life reconvenes on campus. We knew the fraternity and sorority community was going to turn out massively for this, Eccles said. My dog's it's snowing. It's really snowing 7 or 8 inches. He cannot believe his good fortune. He used the weather as an excuse to move tonight's candlelit vigil for Ethan, Xana, Maddie, and Kaylee indoors inside the Kibbe Dome. But the weather isn't the real reason he made the switch. Chief Fry told him last week it would be much harder to secure the venue, maybe impossible if it was outside. The Kibbe Dome was magnetometers up I don't even know what I'm reading right now. Magnetometers, sorry, at the entrances. It's entirely possible the suspect may try to show up. They need to be ready. Do you think he did show up? I always wondered that if he ever went to the actual vigil, Hey, Happy Life, you're welcome. So Eccles gave him his vision of an iconic outdoor ceremony and notified the students of the change, but he cited the weather as the reason, not wanting to scare anyone. Idaho's Governor Brad Little is also coming. Eccles arrives an hour early to go through the last-minute checks. He sees a crowd of about 30 young people all dressed alike. Despite himself and the gravity of the situation, he chuckles. They're undercover FBI agents. I don't know who told them to dress like college kids, he said, but they look like lumberjacks, plaid shirts, blue jeans, and boots. Oh my gosh, let me tell you a funny story, just really quick. I was at a party. Ohio University is known to be like the number one party school in like the nation. Well, it was back when I was younger. And I was there for a block party, and we were at a house, and I look over and I saw 2 guys, and I knew immediately they were undercover cops because of what they were wearing. That's so funny. He says that because that's how I knew. They were wearing like outdated Aeropostale shirts, like that nobody ever wore. Do you know what I mean? It was like, I don't know. It was just something. It was like something about it. It was just something that was like out of style. No one wore that anymore. And I was like, I think these are undercover cops, and they were. Still, Eccles immediately feels better. He doubts anyone can get past this bunch. He's not yet met any of the victims' families, and soon some begin to arrive. The Chapins barely make it in time due to the weather. Even without snow, the drive from La Conner to Moscow is a good 6 to 7 hours. I-90 is closed, so Jim takes Highway 2. I don't even know why it was still open. It was just me and a couple of other people on the road, he said. It's heavy snow. Crazy. I wouldn't want to do that again. Stacy remembers another awful drive from La Conner to Moscow just 2 weeks earlier, and she remembers something else. She wants to make an apology. I really chewed out someone on your staff that day, she tells Dean Eccles when they shake hands, recalling the angry phone call. I know, he tells her with a smile, it was me. The Chapins are ushered through a separate entrance and up to a press box sky high where they can watch the students filing in, and where they are surrounded by FBI agents. From this height, Hunter sees the Sigkai brothers all dressed up in coats and ties walk into the front. He's instantly touched. I knew my fraternity was coming, but I didn't know how many of them, he said, but every single person came. He asked Jim and Stacy if he can go stand with his brothers. They ask law enforcement. The answer is yes, but with a caveat. He has to take his FBI detail with him. Man, can you imagine? Like, these kids live through hell. And I was telling Vincent today, if you look at pictures of Hunter, remember Hunter coming out the door, with Kaylee, in the body cam footage? When you look at him there, and then you look at him in the Dateline episode, or I think it was Dateline episode, or no, it was the docuseries I believe he was in. He lost so much weight. He just looks like a whole different person. I just feel so bad for him. It says a young woman with long, shiny black hair, clad in boots, jeans, and a green plaid shirt follows him. The Sigkai brothers are confused to see Hunter with a stunning woman who does not take her eyes off their friend for even a fraction of a second. His brothers don't believe that she's an FBI agent until she sees they are all looking at her and she flashes her badge. The shocked expressions on their faces is something Hunter Chapin savors. Oh, I guess it was Hunter Chapin that done. A moment of fun in an otherwise bleak universe. I was thinking I don't know why I was thinking it was Hunter Johnson, because he was staying with the Chapins. That's why I was wondering. So I was like, why is he asking them? Okay, sorry about that, guys. When the service is about to start, Stacy and Jim head downstairs, agents in tow, and meet Steve and Christy Gonzalez. Steve is practicing his speech on behalf of Kaylee and Maddie, but he stops to shake hands. He shows Stacy a photograph on his phone of a man with glasses. Have you seen this guy? It's Maddie's dad, Ben Mogan, he says. Steve seems surprised that Ben is there to speak about Maddie. Maddie was raised by her mom, Karen, and her stepfather, Scott Laramie. They had full custody, so Steve has never met Ben. Oh, wow. Wow, I didn't know that. So this is the first time they were meeting. Was at the vigil. But Karen and Scott Laramie, grief-stricken, are skipping the vigil. So are the Kernodles. Maddie's grandmother, Deedle, as Maddie called her, later said that she stayed home out of fear. But the vigil is televised, so even those who are absent can watch. After introductions from Dean Eccles, Stacy Chapin takes the stage, and in her inimitable, articulate style, she finds a way to touch everyone there. Her message is about life, not death. She draws a portrait of the Chapin family, a family, she says, probably not unlike any of theirs. They play games, they eat dinner together when they can, they listen to country music, they spend their weekends following their kids to various sporting events. She tells the students she's not going to dwell on that awful night. No one can change the outcome. Ethan would want all of them to carry on, to keep pursuing their dreams and reaching their goals while cherishing the time they have together, because you just can't get it back. Steve Gonzalez is up next with his wife Christy by his side. He strikes a soft tone as he describes himself as the girl dad, constantly amazed by the perspectives of his daughter. He talks about Kaylee and Maddie's friendship, taking comfort in the fact that the two besties died together, but he also makes Kaylee and Maddie a promise. We're going to get our justice, he says towards the end. That night, the Chapins' chief concern is the well-being of the Sigma Chi brothers. Since November 13th, their fraternity house has been besieged by media knocking and drones flying overhead. Even on this visit, Stacy's best friend, Susie DeVries, who has come with them, wakes up in her hotel to find that she later realizes is a member of the press washing her window. Whoa. Part of honoring Ethan's legacy, Stacy and Jim believe, is looking after the fraternity brothers he met so much too. So Hunter messages the house in a group text that the family is coming over to be with them and they need to put their phones in a basket and pull down the blackout shades. There's money, he says, for pizza and beer. They gather in the lodge in the same room where Ethan and Xana spent their last night partying. Cocooned in a safe space, far from the prying eyes and lenses, insulated against social media, the brothers still in their suits and the Chapins stay up all night talking about Ethan, laughing. Some of them get extremely drunk. Some of them cry. Nobody cares. They are living on borrowed time, safe for just one night to let rip. This is their moment of cat or hairs. I don't know how to say these words that he's putting into them. These words he's putting in here. Their moment to connect, remember, and I can't ask my computer, and treasure Ethan, and they are going to make the most of it. Oh, good thing Brian didn't know they were there. He would have been peering in through the window. No, I'm just kidding. Hey, Micro. Sorry, I don't mean to cough in the microphone, but if I put it on mute, then I lose the book. So I'm so sorry. I don't know why every time I read, it's just like, hello. Hey, Ladybug, did I not say hi to you? Hey, Ladybug. For some reason, no, you just came in. I'm just so used to you being here, like right when I come in. You know what? I took that for granted. I thought you was in here, but you wasn't. I knew you wasn't after you said, "Hey, Tanya." Hey, Ladybug, how you doing? How's your Saturday? So we just now started. Sorry, guys. We just now started. So if you're just now coming in, we're on chapter 78. We stopped last night on 77. And 77 was just talking about the vigil and how the Chapins also, went to the Sigma Chi house and they just kind of drank, ate pizza, had the shades down. So nobody kind of knew they were there and they just, hung out. So chapter 78, Post Falls, Idaho. Thanks, Miss J. Appreciate that. Hey, Maggot Mama. Oh, okay. I'm like, hello. And welcome in, everybody I didn't see. When I'm reading the book, it's hard to look at the chat. It's good to see everybody. Oh, I lost the book. I did something. It's weird because it's like behind the page that you guys were on. I should just switch you guys, put you on a different screen. So Post Falls, Idaho. This is going to be December 2nd, 2022. The chapel is overflowing with people, many of whom Emily Adlant recognizes, but a lot of whom she doesn't. She and Hunter Johnson are back in Idaho for Xana's memorial service and to get their stuff from Moscow. Emily has refused to go to the vigil at the university. She's too frightened to go to something huge and public like that. And she had said no when Jasmine, Xana's sister, asked her to speak at the second vigil in Post Falls that previous night. It was being live streamed, and she didn't want to find herself blowing up even more on social media. Her mom is now following a Facebook page that's a case discussion board to try to get ahead of all of that. But Emily said yes to Jasmine when she asked her to speak at Xana's memorial because the family wants to keep that small. It hasn't turned out small, Emily thinks. Looking around the church, she figures there must be at least 100 mourners. And there's a side room with another 50 chairs. People are standing because there's nowhere to sit. Emily sees the Chapins and the Sigkai brothers. They all look wrecked. It's been a heck of a few days since Thanksgiving. They were at the vigil at the school, then a vigil in Post Falls, and now this. There's Josie and Lyndon. They're more together now than they were before. Dylan is there too. No sign of Bethany. Emily recognized Xana's mother, Kara Northington. Why would she? But Kara is there, out on bail. She'll be rearrested when she fails to report to court afterwards. She skipped. The service itself is surprisingly religious. Everyone is often asked to pray. Emily hadn't known that Jeff Kernodle was religious, but you never can tell. When it's her turn to speak, she pulls out her phone. She spent last night writing out what to say. She wants it to be real. She doesn't care what people think. Xana didn't care what anyone thought, so this is it. This is her moment to say everything she feels about Xana, her best friend, and so she begins. Hi, my name is Emily Adlant. I'd like to start off by saying how honored I am to be up here getting the chance to speak about someone who I got to call my best friend. She tells the story of Xana introducing herself to the Pi-Pis, explaining that her name is pronounced Xanax without the X, how Xana was the light and energy source in every room. I remember the moments, and after all, it is the moments we are left with. For all the moments I have been blessed to share with her, I am grateful. Death ends a life, but not the relationship of that life. We get to keep the moments in the relationships. There was a silly sweatshirt she would wear with Eeyore on it, and I found a quote from Winnie the Pooh that says, "How lucky am I to have something that makes saying goodbye so hard." Xana's length of life was shorter than any of us could have imagined or wanted, but the depth of her life was grand. You can look at Xana's short life as a success. If you made your life about happiness and the happiness you give to others, then she was successful in what truly matters. May you rest in peace, my best friend Xan. When she's done, she and Hunter say their goodbyes to everyone. Then Emily heads with her parents to the airport. They're going back to Mexico for 5 long weeks. Hunter will come as often as he can. Emily needs to get far, far away from everyone. She needs to finally sit with her grief. But as she looks back at all her friends, Xana's friends, Ethan's friends, it occurs to her that she'll miss them. In fact, she needs them. And 5 weeks without them is going to be very tough. Chapter 79, Moscow, Idaho, December 15th, 2022. Hey, Shao. For once in the morning meeting, the chief hopes that they might be getting somewhere with the DNA found on the knife sheath. It has been a meandering process. Othram Labs had checked the sample against DNA in public genealogy databases such as Family Tree DNA. Those results had led to low matches with 4 brothers. The Idaho State Police had reached out to one of the brothers requesting he give DNA samples so that Othram can keep working to build a family tree, but he had refused. So the team had conferenced on December 10th. Idaho State Police had asked Othram to stop work and hand over its findings. The ISP had then turned over those findings to the FBI to take the step of running the DNA profile through GEDmatch and MyHeritage, 2 genealogy databases which purport not to permit law enforcement searches. The FBI can legally do this because, as later noted in court records, there is a loophole in Justice Department policy that permits government agencies to use discretion when searching data provided to websites that do not have customers' permission to share it. The chief doesn't know all the details, but it turns out he is feeling optimistic with good reason. 4 days from now, on December 19th, the FBI gives a tip to Brett Payne. Payne will later say that the name provided is not the one they previously associated with the investigation. The name is Bryan Kohberger. Now the investigators can look at Kohberger's vehicle records, which show he owns a white 2015 Hyundai Elantra. The Moscow team look at the video they've gotten from cameras around King Road to see if the white car that appeared to drive around the house several times that night could be a 2015 Elantra. And it turns out that yes, it could. And when they do a video canvas in Pullman, where Kohberger lives, for the night of November 13th, they can see that at 2:44 a.m., the car is heading north on Nevada Street, but less than 10 minutes later, it's heading south on State Route 270, the road that connects Pullman to Moscow. And when investigators check Kohberger's name in their databases, a police body cam shows that on August 21st, a Bryan C. Kohberger was detained in Moscow at a traffic stop, and that the car had a rear Pennsylvania license plate, LFZ 8649. That was set to expire on November 30th. It had no front license plate, which is permissible in Pennsylvania, but not in Idaho or Washington. The car they'd captured on video had no front license plate. Further, DMV records show that on November 18th, just 5 days after the murders, Kohberger registered the vehicle in Washington and received new plates, front and back, as required, CFB 8708. From there, locating the car will be relatively easy. The new plate showed up on a license plate reader in Loma, Colorado on December 13th. And on December 16th, CCTV footage put the vehicle in Albrightsville, Pennsylvania, where, according to databases, Kohberger's parents live. They will also note that Bryan Kohberger's driver's license photograph shows a man with dark hair and dark bushy eyebrows, the description that Dylan Mortensen gave the masked man she had mistaken for a fireman on the night of the murders. Obviously, Fry isn't going to start smiling in his press conferences. He'd like to. I'm not a downer person, he complains to Julia's wife. But he's hopeful, and no one passes on anything to the victims' families. Let's keep them in the dark. Chapter 80, Moscow, Idaho, December 2022. Hey, Betsy. When Steve Gonzalez pulls up to the house of attorney Shannon Gray, he feels so at home it's weird. The Grays' house is on 5 acres outside of Moscow. Like the Gonzalez, the Grays have 5 kids. Like Steve Gonzalez, Gray's initials are SG. His license plate is 7GS, a sometime Gonzalez family password. Well, not anymore. Gray is covered in tattoos and wears a trucker hat. He drives a maroon Mercedes G-Wagon and complains that the Moscow cops are endlessly stopping him because of it. Even before Steve knows anything about Gray's career, he decides he's going to hire Gray to be his lawyer. He'll later say that it wasn't really his decision at all. The girls, meaning Christy and his daughters Olivia, Autumn, and Aubrey, had already decided. They told him the family needed a lawyer because they were worried Steve would go and say something he shouldn't. They know I'm willing to break rules, he said. I don't want to catch the wrong person, but I don't want to sit in line of 5 people and wait for my turn to figure out justice, he added. There are things that we can request and things we can do to get to the truth faster. You have to fill out forms to get evidence released to you. I don't know how to do that. Jack DeCour's aunt, Brooke Miller, knows Gray's wife, Tiffany, an Instagram influencer whose account describes the ups and downs of their large family. Miller introduced the Grays to the Gonzalez women, but they sent Steve to close the deal. Steve applauds the dynamism his girl showed in getting Gray, though he might have gone in a different direction and hired a civil lawyer. Gray is a criminal lawyer. To Steve, there is much to appreciate about Gray, an unlikely lawyer who cannot let a perceived injustice drop. He feels positive about Gray's prosecution experience, more experience than Thompson, specifically way more murder cases, he said. Oh, wow. I'll spend as much money as I got to make sure that we get to the bottom of this, Steve said. The girls have, in fact, already thought about how to pay Gray and a private investigator to get out in front of the controversy over the Gonzalez family online fundraiser that Brooke had advertised on the University of Idaho case discussion Facebook group. Olivia post, by no means do we expect anything at all, but for those looking to specifically help with legal and independent investigation fees, this fundraiser has been started for us. Steve wants Gray, a former prosecutor in the Multnomah County, and that's Oregon, DA's office, who's aggressive and not afraid of a microphone, to go shake some trees to pressure the cops in Thompson. Steve explains that his frustration with the cops started to build on the 3rd day following the murders when, thanks to Olivia, the Gonzalez family discovered who Kaylee had been in touch with on the phone, had gotten a hold of the grub truck video, and had been in touch with the rideshare driver, a fraternity house designated driver. Steve says he asked the cops, do you know about the food truck? Do you know about the Uber driver? When the answer to both those was negative, he says he exploded. These guys don't even know what the fuck's going on. The family is expected to be interviewed by police. Instead, they received a questionnaire to fill out about Kaylee. They'd also gotten hold of a video of a crime scene from a neighbor that the cops didn't pick up from them. And they'd asked the owner of a local vape shop where Kaylee had talked to about a stalker if he'd gotten the CCTV footage of that to the cops. The answer was no. And now it was too late. The recording had looped. So when Bill Thompson appeared to be muddled about whether the house, a victim, or no one had been targeted, Steve snapped. On December 13th, Steve told Fox News Digital he hired Shannon Gray because he was frustrated with the police lack of communication and what he saw as missteps in the investigation. I have a lawyer for that reason, he said. The police talk to his lawyer now. They've messed up a million times, he continued, but I don't get to say that because what experience does Steve have? He doesn't know. He's just a dad who woke up one day and had his life turned upside down. Gray started giving TV interviews in which he said that he sat down with investigators in Thompson and asked for more transparency and accountability. When Chief Fry saw that Shannon Gray was on the news, he was bemused. Who is this guy, he wondered. Most people in Moscow had never heard of him. The more the police chief sees of Gray on TV, the less he trusts him. He doesn't help that back in January, Gray was suspended from the Oregon State Bar for misconduct. He was reinstated 30 days later. Gray moved to the outskirts of Moscow from Portland earlier in the year. In one of life's ironies, he bought the house next door to Nate Wilson, the screenwriter son of Christ Church pastor Doug Wilson and the father of the 2 boys arrested for putting Soviet Moscow stickers on lampposts in the middle of the night during COVID. Nate Wilson is completely mesmerized by his new neighbors. Gray's wife, Tiffany, strikes Nate as an emotional, passionate person, and he listens rapidly to Gray's life story, which includes an earlier career as a bouncer in a bar and a row with Moscow City Council over a halfway house opposite the junior high school that lacked, he felt, appropriate oversight. He told Wilson he'd uncover all sorts of corruption and self-dealing inside City Hall, but Nate never gets to the bottom of that story, partly because Gray is always on the road defending clients in Coeur d'Alene and Kootenai County. And now Gray is swept up in the murders because he started representing the Gonzalez family. Gray is understandably, given his stalemate with police, very sympathetic about the Wilsons family clashes with law enforcement. Nate remembers finding it difficult, borderline impossible to trust that the MPD could get anything done. The chief wants to help the Gonzalez family. He wants to get justice for Kaylee. They are getting closer with the investigation, but the battle lines have been so clearly and aggressively defined by Gray that the police chief feels unable to share much, if anything, with them. It's a shame. Chapter 81, Rochester, New York, December 16th, 2022. It's Dawn, and Christine is looking at the Facebook page aghast. She posted an exclusive video that has news programs calling her constantly, and her phone is ringing off the hook. It shows Maddie and Kaylee on the sidewalk en route from the corner club to the grub truck. Hoodie guy is accompanying them a little bit off to the side, but it looks as though he's there to help. The two women are not walking entirely steadily. Kaylee asks Maddie, "What did you say to Adam?" Maddie replies, "I told Adam everything." Everyone on the Facebook page and in the media is now fired up about the identity and role of Adam. Oh God, Christine thinks this is not good at all. The opposite, in fact, of what her intention had been. The point of posting the video was to show everyone that hoodie guy Jack Showalter apparently had good intentions that night, not bad. She wanted to provide much needed context to the grub truck Twitch video in which he seemed to stare at them and follow them for no reason. This new video showed there was a perfectly good reason. He had been walking with them all along. The video had been given to police soon after the investigation began by someone who worked at St. Andrews, but nothing was released to the public. Christine had gotten this video from a man who didn't want his name out there or his connection via his girlfriend to New St. Andrews College, the building on which the camera perched. The source had followed the online mania and the speculation about Hoodie Guy and wanted to help clear his name. At first, he wanted Christine to show a still, but they ultimately decided the best choice was the simplest: just play the video. Prior to posting it, Christine sent the video over to Olivia Gonzalez. It turned out that the family knew who Adam was. Adam Luda, a close friend of Jack Decor and Maddie and Kaylee, the former high school basketball star, bartends at the corner club. The video has gone viral because of the mention of Adam. Who is Adam? That's the headline run by the major media outlets, including Fox News and Inside Edition, and it's the topic of numerous posts on the Facebook page. Mark Trevelpiece, the owner of the corner club and Adam's boss, is livid, not because he's gone overboard to protect Adam and all of his employees from media intrusion, but because weeks ago police interviewed them all and they figured that the way to protect the investigation was to stay quiet. He knows at once where this video came from: New St. Andrews College, the school founded and owned by Christ Church, which makes him even madder. They like chaos, he said, of the church. Anything that can get the people who are dead set on being in Moscow to loosen their grip and make it easier for the people to come in, they're going to do it. Appearing on Fox in a split screen with Shannon Gray on December 17th is Steve Gonzalez, who surprises Christine by saying, "We've got that film for a while. We've had that film for a while." Even so, she's glad he's doing this interview to set the record straight about Adam. "I believe the business reached out to us directly after they had given it to police," Steve says, though his attempt to claim the waters once again roils Christine, who thought she had an exclusive. "The video," Steve says, "was kind of comforting to us because it's just two girls having a good time, talking about, asking about their bartender, just being girls on their way to the grub truck. We did the obvious due diligence and looked into that, and it was pretty clear that this individual is not part of the investigation as far as a suspect." Phew, thanks, Christine. But even the speculation about Adam is dying down. Another problem appears: Papa Roger. This Facebook page is meant to be a place to discuss the murders, not rant. His posts continue to needle other members. It's not just his arrogance, it's something undeniable feeling of aggression. He keeps making snide comments like, "Why is proof so hard for you? Help me help you. Maybe you should consider post-secondary education. And you have an emotional issues." That's weird, post-secondary education. On December 14th, he posted about law enforcement. "Fight me. Ellie is no close to solving this than they were 30 days ago. 2 days later, the killer had a sexual dysfunction. Thoughts?" And in another instance of seeming overconfidence of possibly having peculiar insight into the case, when he's asked how long he suspected The killer was in the house. Papa Roger answered 15 minutes. On December 22nd, he posted, "The killer is not the victim's immediate circle." And on December 24th, someone asked, "You think the assailant has left the area?" Papa Roger replied, "Likely." Sitting in his office in the police station, Chief Fry is interested in following this. The team has appointed an investigator to track all the social media discussions about the case, including the Facebook page. By now, the police have a good idea of who their suspect is, and Papa Roger is right. The suspect is not in the victim's immediate circle, and yes, he has left the area. The question for investigators is, why is Papa Roger right? Is it because he knows the suspect? Or because he is the suspect? Chapter 82, Moscow, Idaho, December 19th, 2022. It's evening when Brett Payne gets the phone call from the FBI suggesting that a Bryan Kohberger might be worth looking into. It's the call he and the team have been waiting for. The DNA from the knife sheath was the one thing we had that we thought was a very strong piece of evidence, Payne will later say. The next morning, via Microsoft Teams, the FBI walks him through how they constructed the family tree and why they believe Kohberger should be looked at. Payne doesn't know much, if anything, about investigative genetic genealogy. He's never used it before, so he finds the details they gave him above his head. But that doesn't matter. What matters is the tree includes the Kohberger family based in Pennsylvania. On December 23rd, the investigators have enough information for Payne to apply for a warrant to pull Bryan Kohberger's phone records to check the location of the cell tower pings by his phone in the early hours of November 13th. Payne learns from AT&T records that Kohberger's cell does indeed appear to be in the broader area earlier that morning. 2:42 a.m., network near Pullman picks up the cell phone near his house heading south out of Pullman. 2:47 a.m., phone disappears from the network. 4:48 a.m., phone reappears on the network covering I-95 south out of Moscow. 5:30 a.m., phone shows up in the Pullman network again. 9 a.m., phone appears to leave the Pullman network. Between 9:12 a.m. and 9:21 a.m., phone shows up on the network around 1122 King Road. 9:31 a.m., phone is back on the network covering Kohberger's home in Pullman. In fact, the phone, when they retrieve it, will also show that an hour later, around 10:30 a.m., while he's still at home, Kohberger takes a strange mirror selfie in what appears to be the bathroom in his apartment. The bare shower rod, empty towel rack, and white tile work are visible in the background. His dark hair damp, he is grinning and giving a thumbs up. He is deathly pale. He's wearing over-ear headphones and a clean white dress shirt buttoned all the way up to the top. In order to see if Kohberger had stalked the King Road house or anyone in it, Payne and the team get another warrant and review earlier records of the phone calls as well as its locations. Since Kohberger opened the account in 2022, the phone appears to have been close to the King Road house on at least 12 occasions. All except one occurred late at night. So finally, the puzzle is coming together. Now it's time to find a way to prove the very compelling but still circumstantial theory that Bryan Kohberger is their man. The simplest and most obvious way to do this is to check his DNA and see if it matches the DNA on the knife sheath. The FBI reaches out to its Philadelphia field office. Plans for a surveillance operation in the area are set in motion. The chief knows better than to count his chickens. By this year, Christmas feels more bountiful than he had dared hoped. He even managed to take the whole day off to be with Julie and the family. And because he's feeling optimistic, he writes back to his emailer in Florida, the one who tells him that this will be unsolved like John Benet Ramsey's case. "I want to wish you a Merry Christmas. God bless you." The guy writes back, "You better hope God blesses you, because if not, you're going down in history as one of the worst." We shall see, thinks the chief. We shall see. Hey, Nicole. And welcome in, everybody. If you guys don't mind, we take a second, hit the like button for me. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much. And thank you guys all for being here. So we're on chapter 83, Rathdrum in Idaho. Sorry. December 28th, 2022. Olivia, Steve, and Christy Gonzalez are seated together on their black leather couch, tissue in hand. A large photograph of Kaylee hangs behind them. They are grieving this in-depth interview, not to the reporter from a news network, but a cyber sleuth from New York, Olivia Vitale, a brunette in her 20s. They've chosen Olivia rather than a journalist from an established news network, Steve says, because in going through Kaylee's TikTok, he learned that Kaylee watched Olivia's interviews under her moniker Chronicles of Olivia. Could this be a sign that Olivia is the chosen one to find whoever killed Kaylee? It feels like this is Kaylee approved. And if that can play a role in solving this crime, then that makes it a lot better. That helps with the process of healing, he says on camera. Towards the end of the interview, Olivia explains that she has taken it upon herself to be the Gonzalez family-owned cyber sleuth. Her mother, Christy, tried for a week to follow University of Idaho case discussion Facebook page, but quit because it made her too upset. But Olivia understands what a treasure trove, a hive mind of research exists online. Olivia speaks slowly and empathetically to the camera. I'm in every group I can be. I monitor every post because what if he slips up there? What if he's in one of those groups? What if he says something that's a little too close and gives me a bad feeling? That's why it's a long shot, but it's what I can do. I can take that time. I can read these posts. I'm physically capable of doing that, so I will. Olivia devotes all of her waking hours to the work because she knows what or who will she will find. The same day that the Gonzalez film with Olivia Vitale, the chief and his colleagues field a query from NBC about a Texas-based self-described psychic and TikTok cyber sleuth. Ashley Gilliard, creator of Ashley Solves Mysteries, has now posted hundreds of videos accusing University of Idaho Associate History Professor Rebecca Schofield of orchestrating the murders. Professor Schofield has never met any of the 4 victims. She and her husband and young children were in Portland, Oregon when the murders occurred, but this doesn't matter to Gilliard, whose evidence is based solely on her clairvoyant insights. Man, Ashley, you were just wrong, Not Ashley Higgins, Ashley Gilliard. We followed her. She was a nut job. She keeps posting that Schofield had at some unspecified time a romantic relationship with Kaylee, and when she was jilted, she hired a hitman to prevent the affair from ever coming to light. Gilliard identified the hitman as Jack Decor. So I'm going to explain this to you guys if you guys didn't follow this part of the story. The psychic comes out from TikTok, says that a professor at the University of Idaho, who no one has a class with her, there's no connection with these kids with this lady, but they're saying that Kaylee and this professor was having an affair, and Jack Decor killed them all because of it. Oh my goodness. And she's clairvoyant, so she knows. Schofield hired a lawyer in Boise, former U.S. Attorney Wendy Olson, who wrote twice to Gilliard asking her to cease and desist with the lunatic claims. But the psychic doubled down and posted even more. On December 21st, Schofield sued Gilliard for defamation. The suit claimed that her family's safety had been put at risk. So today's NBC is on the phone to police asking if Schofield is in fact a suspect. By now, Fry, Snell, and the communications team know better than to bother squawking in disbelief when the crank questions come. They give a measured statement. At this time in the investigation, detectives do not believe the female associate professor and chair of the history department at the University of Idaho suing a TikToker user for defamation is involved in this crime. I know I said at one point there are no dumb questions. Fry later said, but I was wrong. There are. I don't remember him saying that. He said, I know I said at one point there are no dumb questions, but I was wrong. There are. That's the truth. Chapter 84, Pullman, Washington, December 28th, 2022. The WSU police chief, Gary Jenkins, is finishing up for the day when he sees that James Fry is calling his cell phone. Can you meet me at our police station? Fry asked. Jenkins and Fry are old friends. Jenkins has recently reassigned to WSU, but prior to that, he ran the Pullman Police Department for 12 years. It's highly unusual for Fry to be as secretive and tight-lipped as he's been about the Idaho 4 as the victims are coming to be known, but the chief has helped each other out on dozens of cases. Jenkins knows what his friend is trying to prevent, somehow tipping off the murder. So as he drives over to the Moscow police station, he assumes Fry's holding a second multi-agency briefing similar to the one where they asked for help searching for the white Hyundai Elantra. But when Fry meets Jenkins at the front door of the station, the WSU chief senses this is different. Jenkins follows Fry upstairs and into the conference room and sees a sea of faces. He realizes the entire team of investigators is gathered there waiting for him, but what they're about to tell him, Fry says, is completely confidential, not to be shared even with his agency. In that instant, he realizes why he's there. They found whoever did this, and this person is at WSU on his turf. His heart sinks. Brett Payne says, "We think we know who the suspect is, and he's in WSU housing." And then he says his name, Bryan Kohberger. Odd name, Jenkins thinks, but it's an odd, familiar name. It rings a bell, and then it comes to him. "I know that name," he tells the people in the room. He sees astonishment on their faces. "I think I interviewed him for an internship position when I was Pullman chief. I probably have his resume and cover letter in my files." He goes straight back to his office and sends them over. Payne and the team receive them, and their contents make it straight into Payne's draft affidavit, the one he'll submit providing evidence to justify an arrest warrant for Kohberger. It already contains what the police have discovered about the path of the Hyundai Elantra, Kohberger's cell phone records, and what Dylan Mortensen saw that night. Payne now adds to it the following. Pursuant to records provided by a member of the interview panel for Pullman Police Department, we learned that Kohberger's past education included undergraduate degrees in psychology and cloud-based forensics. These records also showed Kohberger wrote an essay when he applied for an internship with the Pullman Police Department in the fall of 2022. Kohberger wrote in his essay that he had interest in assisting royal law enforcement agencies with how to better collect and analyze technological data in public safety operations. Kohberger also posted a Reddit survey which can be found by open source internet search. The survey asked for participants to provide information to understand how emotions and psychological traits influence decision making when committing a crime. While Payne is writing, Jenkins is sitting in front of his computer, already running his to-do list through his mind. He's getting ready for what he'll say when he's allowed to share what he knows, and for when his team gets the green light to write the warrants for the Moscow team to search Kohberger's home and office. Thank God he's spoken to the guy in charge of camera security along Stadium Way, the main street in Pullman. Soon after the murders, they'd agreed it might be worth holding on to the footage of the night of the murders beyond the regular retention of 60 days. Wow. He sees in his databases that the Pullman cops pulled over Kohberger in October, and he now sees that his guys, Officer Tenego and Whitman, had identified the car a few weeks back. WSU community is going to freak out when Kohberger is arrested. Jenkins knows this. He's got a team of counselors on standby for the cops. He'll almost certainly have to offer their services to the university. He goes back to his database. What else was there about this guy that was missed? There was a break-in near his apartment reported recently. Wasn't there some story about a student being followed to her car? What else? His train of thought is interrupted by his phone. It's Fry thanking him for Kohberger's resume and cover letter. "No problem," says Jenkins. "Oh, and Gary, one more thing," says Fry, letting out a small chuckle. "Aren't you glad you didn't accept his application?" "More than you know," replies Jenkins. That's pretty funny. I think Chief Fry's got a little bit of humor into him. My dog's making a bed behind me. Chapter 85, Albrightsville, Pennsylvania, December 27th, 2022. We're getting closer to getting him arrested. "Get in, get the garbage, get out. Don't be seen. Don't be seen." The FBI surveillance team can tell Kohberger is skittish and that he knows what he's doing. It's pitch black, freezing. The agents are cloaked by night and by the dense woods of the Poconos. It's the time when most people are sound asleep, particularly in the dead of winter. And yet, astonishingly, at 4 a.m., Bryan Kohberger walks out of his parents' house carrying garbage and wearing nitrile gloves. He dumps the bag in the neighbor's trash can, then scurries inside. I want to see that video so bad. But a few hours later, he's back out again, gloved and depositing more garbage in his neighbor's trash cans. Back and forth, he carries out bags several times to the house in the hours to come, always wearing gloves. Dang, how much trash can you fit in so much trash can if they put their own trash in there, right? Man, the agents are ahead of him, though. They know time is of the essence. In the early hours of the morning, they fish the garbage out of the Kohberger's bins and the neighbors. According to law enforcement, once trash is placed in a bin or on the curb, it is public property. They fly it to the Idaho State Lab. By December 28th, they got what they need. They alert Pennsylvania State Police stationed at Stroudsburg to be ready. Bryan's DNA was not in the trash. He must have worked overtime to ensure that, but his dad's DNA is. And his dad's DNA shows a likelihood of his being of his being the father of the person whose DNA is on the knife sheath, a likelihood that, according to the lab, would not be shared with at least 99.9998% of the male population. That's enough for Payne to finish his probable cause affidavit, sign it, and walk it over to the courthouse for the signature of Judge Megan Marshall. From there, it's emailed to Pennsylvania. Justin Leary and Brian Knoll, 2 veteran troopers in Pennsylvania's Criminal Investigation Division, fill out the paperwork they need to get a judge to sign the arrest warrant and the other seizure warrants. At 4:35 p.m., Judge, that was like Margarita. I'm going to call her that, Margarita. Patty Worthington of the Monroe County Court of Common Pleas signs them. And it's time. Now it's time to get, or now it's go time. The Pennsylvania State Police Special Emergency Response Team, CERT, gets ready for a night raid. Chapter 86, Rochester, New York, December 29th, 2022. It's 7:10 p.m. and Christine is hunched over her laptop watching Papa Roger cross the line. He writes to one woman, "Please elaborate your attention, whore," and to another, "You are full of donkey excrement." Excrement. Why? Why would you say that? Christine has asked a friend, Deb Coley, to oversee the page when she and Elena are busy. Deb's technical title is page moderator. She calls Christine, "This guy's going crazy," she says. Deb has had to delete 4 of his posts in the space of a few minutes. Christine tells Deb to go ahead and ban him. "We have strict rules about name calling other people, belittling other people, swearing at them, or trying to meddle in their real life," she said. "But when you ban someone, you delete the footprint of all of their posts. This is not something that worries Christine in this moment, but later she will wish she had screenshotted absolutely everything he ever posted before they banned him." An hour later, she sees that he's created a new Facebook page called Moscow, Idaho Murders, Anything Goes. It's a collage of Instagram photographs, chiefly from Maddie's account, although there are a couple of pictures of Kaylee. Oh, well, Christine thinks Papa Roger is trying to compete with her. Let him try. But the next day he goes dark, no post, nothing. When Christine looks at her Facebook page messages to find their correspondences, she sees the messages are gone, as is his creepy picture. Now that is weird. That doesn't need to happen after a ban. She doesn't know if he deliberately styled himself after Elliot Rodger or what the deal was. On December 30th, the news burst onto TVs around the country. The police have made an arrest in Pennsylvania. When Christine compares the features of the guy in handcuffs on her TV screen to the profile picture of Papa Roger, she sees an uncanny resemblance. And she starts to wonder, was he right there under her nose all this time? Is Bryan Kohberger also Papa Roger? Never know. Chapter 87, Albrightsville, Pennsylvania, December 29th, 2022. The emergency response team readies the explosive, the flashbangs they'll use for dynamic entry. It's the only way to handle dangerous arrest. You've got to protect the team, Fry said. It's all about creating a diversion. He did his part to divert Kohberger by giving a short statement earlier that evening in his office. On camera, he announced that 1122 King Road would be visited by a cleanup crew on Friday to deal with biohazard material. He also thanked the public for the tips. Almost 20,000 had come in. His entire statement took 1 minute. If Kohberger was watching, chances were he was, he'd have no idea from the chief's grim expression and matter-of-fact delivery that outside his window, around 40 highly trained members of the Pennsylvania Police SWAT team are getting ready to enter his parents' house. Fry, on the other side of the country, knows from personal experience exactly how this is going to play out. Back in 2011, Fry's ride-along partner, Paul Kalawatsky, stood on a ladder looking into a room at the Best Western Hotel where UI Assistant Professor of Psychology Ernesto Bustamante was holed up with 6 guns. He had just shot dead his student, Katie Bennett, with whom he had a romantic relationship. The cops wanted to get inside the room before he could shoot himself or someone else. They had shot canisters of gas through the window to persuade him to come out. I don't know how to say his last name, Kowalski. His goal was to explain what was going on and calm the professor down. But with no warning, the SWAT team threw a flashbang through the front door into the gas, temporarily binding Kowalski and almost knocking him off the ladder. The chief climbed up the ladder to rescue his friend who recovered. But Bustamante had killed himself by the time the cops got into the room. That was not ideal. So Fry knows the playbook they'll likely use in Monroe County. The team in Pennsylvania would use flashbangs as a distraction. They'd likely throw one through the front door or run a diversionary device through, say the back window or the kitchen. The combination of the loud bang and the bright light usually stun the occupants and give the team time to get into the room. The team in Pennsylvania wound up doing more than this to guarantee access. It was later determined that they'd blown out several windows and several doors. They find Bryan Kohberger awake, dressed in shorts and a shirt. He's standing in the kitchen wearing medical-type gloves, putting trash in Ziploc bags. They surround him at gunpoint, zip-tie his hands, and stuff him in a police car. Then they ransack the house and his car for anything and everything covered by the warrants. After a few hours, Kohberger is sitting in the Monroe County Jail. He's been swabbed for DNA. After initially waiving his right to counsel and agreeing to speak with law enforcement without a lawyer, he changed his mind and asked for one. Oh, wow. At approximately 7:15 a.m. local time, Gary Jenkins accompanies the Moscow PD team with warrants to search Kohberger's apartment in Pullman and his office on campus. And at 1 p.m., James Fry ascends the podium at City Hall with Bill Thompson behind him on the left. He's finally able to say the words that he hopes will deliver the knockout blow to his numerous critics. Last night, in conjunction with the Pennsylvania State Police and the Federal Bureau of Investigation, detectives arrested 28-year-old Bryan Christopher Kohberger in Albrightsville, Pennsylvania, on a warrant for the murder of Ethan, Xana, Madison, and Kaylee. Later that night, Fry's Florida emailer writes, "We'll see if you got your right guy." Fry wonders if this guy will still be skeptical once Kohberger is in custody in Idaho and he's read the probable cause affidavit. Because if ever a document demonstrated good police work, Fry thinks this is surely it. What chapter was that? I was just going to go, okay, where are we at? Chapter 88? I was going to go to part 4, but we'll go to chapter... What chapter were we going to go to today? 90? Yeah, 80, 90. I don't even know what I put on the... I think I might put something different on the thumbnail. I want to write that down just so I can remember. 80 through 90. Oh, you're welcome, Tempest. So, chapter 88, Moscow, Idaho, November 13, 2022. The drive west from Moscow to Pullman on Route 270 can take just minutes. On the back roads, it could take hours. Oh, by the way, I found videos of someone put out videos. They're awesome. I don't know who they are, but they drove from the King Road house, I believe when it was still there, and they drove all the way to Bryan Kohberger's apartment, parked in the parking lot, and then they did it the opposite way. And I was just like, that's really cool. Like, I've never seen I got a video of of them in town in Washington State and then going to Moscow, but never like from the apartment. So I'll have to show it to you guys tonight or something. So it just reminded me. When Brett Payne's affidavit became public, it explained the police's belief that Bryan Kohberger took this circuitous route. According to the affidavit, after the murders, Kohberger's launcher left Moscow heading south towards Genesee, then turned west into Uniontown, which is not so much a town as a shack surrounded by miles of cornfields. If WSU kids have been drinking in Moscow and don't want to get pulled over by the cops, they'll risk the back roads, well known to be deserted during the day, unlit at night, and treacherous with snow and ice in winter. But Rand Walker, the Moscow therapist, opined that to someone who has committed murder, the road's most dangerous faucets could become conveniences. He suggested that a person could toss a murder weapon into the surrounding snow-covered fields, and the chance that anyone would find it was negligible. Later that early morning, according to Payne's affidavit, it took Kohberger over an hour to make his way back to Pullman, 50 minutes longer than it took the drive the 8 miles on 270. But he stayed home for less than 4 hours. At around 9 a.m., according to Payne, he left Pullman and returned to Moscow. Not just to Moscow, but to the very scene of the murders. Every criminologist knows that the more emotional the crime, the more likely it is that the criminal will revisit the scene. Kohberger's phone pinged on the 1122 King Road network between 9:12 and 9:21 a.m. It was the last time that the cops saw his phone use the Moscow cell network. And then the cops believe he went home. Let me write something really quick. I just want to write something down real fast. Sorry about that. It was the last time that the cops saw his phone use the Moscow cell network. And then the cops believe he went home. His cell phone records showed him driving back to the Pullman area at 9:32 a.m. But Kohberger wasn't done driving for the day, not by a long shot. Just 3 hours or so later, his cell records suggest he made the 40-minute trip from Pullman to Clarkston, Washington, via U.S. Highway 195, where cameras saw him at Kate's Cup of Joe coffee stand, and then at 12:46 a.m. at the Clarkston grocery store Albertson, where he purchased unknown items and left at 1:04 p.m. Students of local crimes, and Kohberger was most certainly one of those, knew that Clarkston was a good place to throw things into a river. 12 years earlier, Charles Capone strangled his estranged wife and threw her body into the river. It was never found. Bill Thompson got the conviction only after an accomplice talked. Next, Payne wrote, Kohberger returned to the country roads he had been driving the night before. His phone pinged in the Royal Back Roads of Johnson, Washington, 2 hours from Lewiston between 5:32 and 5:36 p.m. Then it vanished from the network for 2.5 hours from 5:36 p.m. to 8 p.m. Payne didn't account for what happened in those hours. But Kohberger's defense attorney, when he got one, wrote in court papers that the police never found the murder weapon, nor did they find any of the victim's DNA on his clothes or in his car. In fact, the night chief appears to have been his only mistake. Gary Jenkins said, from what I've heard of his activities afterwards, he was pretty sophisticated in knowing how to get rid of DNA and whatever else he needed to do. I don't know if he went to Lewiston, but he certainly did a lot of driving around. Okay. If you guys don't mind, yeah, hit the like button for your girl. Look at Nightbot going nuts. Sorry, everybody. I need to do my Nightbot commands a little better. There's like 50 commands. Chapter 89, Pullman, Washington, November 14th, 2022. Ben Roberts has his mind on end-of-term exams, so he barely notices that the spot where Bryan Kohberger usually sits in class in Wilson's short hall is empty today. Ben's head is filled with projects and deadlines, plus he just bumped into someone in the financial technology program who has news of 4 horrendous homicides over in Moscow. University students stabbed in their bedrooms in the middle of the night. That's completely horrible, Ben thinks. He tries to put it out of his mind, goes back to focusing on his classwork, but later members of the cohort and Ben will think hard about Bryan's absence that day and what it meant. They clocked it because they decided they needed to create a paper trail, a record of what Bryan said and did, just in case something unexpected happened. If he were to lodge a complaint against one of the professors, for instance. We all felt he was creepy, Ben said, but harmless. Bryan is weird, but he's not evil. But the next day and the day after that, Ben starts to see slight change in Bryan. He becomes a bit lighter, more animated. Ben ascribes it to the end of term coming and the filters coming off. Something about his appearance is a little looser. He's grown stubble. Ben also hears that Bryan's grading of the undergraduate papers is changing dramatically. Everyone, women included, start getting high marks. Bryan stops writing essays on their essays. Some of the students are shocked, but also relieved. Ben hears the gossip, but he doesn't pay too much attention to this at the time. None of the cohorts do, or does. Their focus is on exams and grades. They came here to get a graduate degree so they could find good jobs. Ben assumes that's what they all want. Bryan must too. But when Ben thinks about it, he realizes Bryan doesn't talk much about his plans for the future. Ben assumes he has them. Why wouldn't he? Oh, why wouldn't he? I don't know. Can't wait to read some more, though, later. We did good. Oops. I removed myself. Didn't mean to do that. I meant to remove the book. But I will come back on and read some more later. I did see this. It was like, I don't know if we've read about this yet in the book, but it was talking about, it was Daily Mail. I was trying to see if like there was anything new. Oh gosh, there's a picture of him. I don't know. I think we did. I think this is just going over the whole book. What's this? That's not even the picture. They have a picture up here. It's not even the picture of the book. Okay, I'm okay. I'm done with that. I'm gonna go to the pool before the sun, decides to hide for the day. But does anybody have any questions about the book? Baby girl said nap time. And thank you guys all for being here today. I really appreciate it. If you guys don't mind, just take a second, hit the like button. It'll help my video, get into the algorithm, and that would mean a lot to me. Yeah, I'm a small channel. I need all the help I can get from you guys. So if you guys don't mind, share it, like it, subscribe, hit the bell icon to be alerted of new content. I'll be back on later this evening to do our evening live. If you're into true crime, we are here every evening at 9:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We do members only lives. If you'd like to join our membership, we do members only giveaways once a month, and we base that off of how many members we have at the time. So more members, the bigger the prize, more money. So thank you guys again for being here. I appreciate it. I'll see you guys all later. Thank you to the mods for being here, and thank you to everybody. So see you guys. Have a great day. Bye.
Just like the street lights lit this town, like a fire in a blaze, gotta burn it down. Can't be afraid to leave this out. We got this far, don't know how.